This edition of My Thoughts Monday is brought to you by Valve Performance, the team behind the Nordboard, Force Decks, the Groin Bar, and Human Track. Guys, the most important ability for all of our athletes is availability, and that's the absolute goal of Valve Performance, is to provide solutions to performance professionals so that we can get the right information to make the right decision at the right time for the betterment of the athletes that we get to work with. To do this, guys, they have a wide range of validated products that focus on usability, and having being founded by the School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences at the Queensland University of Technology, they're extremely evidence-based and they're beyond transparent. I can tell you that our time using the Nordboard and being involved with Force Decks, we have been introduced to so many amazing people that have truly helped us become better coaches, have a better understanding, not just of the technology, but also what we're doing with our athletes. So make sure you hop over to valveperformance.com today to make sure you check out what they got. It's going to make you better and to do better by your athletes. The world of strength and conditioning is filled with some awesome practitioners who are always trying to evolve and continue to grow professionally throughout their career. The problem with many of us, though, is finding a new outlet, a new way, and a new perspective on the questions that we may have, whether it be programming, whether it be situational with dealing with coaches, or whether it be career advice. Because all too often what happens is we get stuck in with the same group of friends and the same group of colleagues that we reach out to for advice repeatedly over and over again. But what we should really be looking for is different perspectives, different people who have been through different situations who can help us make better decisions both for ourselves and our athletes. And one awesome place to start with that is the forums in the Strength Coach Network. In the forums in the Strength Coach Network, you'll be able to reach out and get feedback, input, and advice from coaches from all over the world, from everything from career advice to training modalities to programming. There's people there just for the same reason as you are, to try to get better, to learn, to share information, and to grow the field of strength and conditioning. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS. That's strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS to dive into all that great content today and get your 48-hour trial for only $1. I look forward to seeing you in the Strength Coach Network. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Jay DeMayo coming at you with this week's edition of My Thoughts Monday. And today, guys, I kind of want to talk about something that, I've taken a step back here these last couple weeks of the season and done. And I think that it's something that a lot of us talk about, that we say that we do, but I don't know how much we actually really do it. And that's taken a little bit of time to sit down and reflect on the season and to kind of look back and see where there were some pros and some cons and things of that nature. And I think all too often, when we do that, it's more based upon the X's and O's, right? We sit there and we look at it and we're like, oh, well, verticals went up here and speed went down there and strength was X, Y, or Z and all those things. And those are great. Those are important. We need to do those, right? It's important to understand, what we're doing. But I think that, this past year, it's been a little bit of a different reflection. And the first one that I'd really like to share with you is based on a conversation that I had with my sports medicine practitioner. So again, you guys are probably starting to get sick hearing about my talks with Adam, but huge shout out to A-Train again for, really making me think and making me take a step back and look at what we have been doing this year. And, I've shared with you guys, a bunch of the things that we've been doing when it comes to nutritional strategies and sleep strategies and how we've been trying to improve on those, and how we've been looking at these, low-hanging fruit things. And really the big four, in my opinion, are training, sleep, nutrition, and hydration. Those are the things that A, we have the most control over, and B, there's a lot of really simple things that you can do to get the most out of those, right? And that's not saying that training's easy or, nutrition is just overly simple and hydration isn't a hard thing to monitor. I'm just saying that those are the easy things that we can get to that really can have just super improvements, not just in performance, but overall well-being. Well, we were sitting in the hotel recently talking about, where we stood on a couple of things. And the big thing that came out of this conversation was understanding now that, especially with the 21st century athlete, that we need to periodize our education. And we need to periodize kind of where we put our stops at, meaning like what things we're really fighting over. And that our job now more than anything is to basically teach them what's important and try to get them to understand what's important. And then you hope that they know that they're doing the right thing and they continue to do it. Back away, watch them hopefully continue to do it, and then reassess where you need to restart the education. Look at what worked. Look at what didn't work. Look at where you're going. Look at where there were hiccups. Well, since the nutrition stuff is something we've talked about, and lunch was pretty much, where the discussion started and revolved around, I'll kind of give you that setup and where we kind of came to and what we see. So, as discussed earlier, right, like we started the summer trying to find, a consistent feeding time. So we were trying to get them to go to breakfast before class. And then we were trying to have a consistent lunchtime throughout the day before training, and then give them a smoothie and whatever after, so that we were trying to get them to eat at a regular time. That then turned into, all right, let's look at our protein selection. Can it be a leaner cut of meat or whatever, a better option than a burger or fried chicken or chicken fingers and fries? Which then turned into, hey, can we eat some vegetables? Maybe. That whole idea of mom said eat your vegetables, maybe that's important. Which then turned into, hey, can we maybe substitute some of those French fries with some fruit? So we went from some people not eating before practice to, in all reality, having people that were eating 2 pretty good meals. Obviously there were levels of success, if you may. Some people were better than others. Some people had a longer way to go than others. But all in all, we were getting out of these young people what we wanted. We're showing up to eat lunch. They were fueling themselves better. They were fueling themselves on a consistent schedule. Which brings us to where we are today, right? Couple weeks left in the season. A team that's, fighting for every last bit right now. So is this the time of the year that we want to look at this and continue to fight about what they're eating? Or do we look at what's most important and where we've been throughout the year? And what we know, right, is that the most important aspect when it comes to your nutritional plan is the consistency of the fueling, right? It's that your body always having fuel to work off of and knowing when it is. So instead of sitting here and looking at plates now and being like, oh, where's your vegetables? Or, well, are we going to have any fruit today? Or really, a burger? It's kind of just turned into, hey man, you're here, let's just eat. And more of the guys than aren't are making good decisions. More often than not, there are vegetables on their plate. There are good protein sources because they have learned. But I don't think that this is the time to be the person that's the stickler for how the plate is set up. Now is the time to support. And I think that that's kind of where, if we talk about periodization being general to specific throughout the year, right? When it comes to the strength training. I think that when we're looking at these other aspects, I think it goes from education to support. I think it goes from teaching, holding them accountable, critiquing, working with them to make better decisions, teaching them why these decisions are important, showing them better options, providing these options, leading, and being a part of the process with them, to just being there for them and making sure that whatever it is that you're standing up for is the least possible, right? Because what are you going to cause drama for at this time of the year with a team that is fighting for something? Do you think that the battle at this time of year is over some peas? Or do you think it's over making sure that they just eat 3 times a day and that they get a good snack? Personally, I'm not willing to lay on the sword of the vegetables. I'm going to sit there and say, hey, fellas, look, we know that we need to be fueled, right? We know we need to eat. We've been eating well. We've been doing all these things all year. Let's just make sure we get to D-Hall. I'll meet you there. Just check in. Get some lunch. We can hang out, and then we'll go on our day. That's the low-hanging fruit. That's the stuff that's important. Now, I can hear what you're saying right now. But you got to hold them accountable to this, that, and the other thing. And you know what? Maybe you're in a situation where, like a younger team that's learning and doing these things, you do need to be on them a little bit. There are some younger guys that I do hold to a little bit of a higher standard with that. There are some guys who have some, let's just call them body transformation issues that we have been talking about, that we'll still talk about some of these things. But all in all, right now, let's just make sure that we're there to support them. So instead of being that voice in their ear that is like, do this, do that, do the other thing, maybe it's more about, hey man, how can I help you get that? How can I help you do this? How can I help you make sure that you're eating 3 times a day? You know, is there a different time that we might need to meet to make sure you get breakfast? If you don't have somebody there at lunch, are you going to skip it? Like, is that going to help you? Like, if you know I'm going to meet you there, support them. Be there for them. And sometimes we've just got to do what we got to do to make sure that they're doing the right thing without sitting there and being combative and kind of being a distraction from what's most important this time of year. And that's winning and continuing to move forward. So, again, huge shout out to A-Train, because 10 years ago, I would have been doing the opposite. And I'm sure that there's a lot of young coaches out there too that are like, oh, if it's important in July, it needs to be important in March. You know, sorry. That's not real. That's just not real at all. Is it important? Sure. Is it important enough that you want to pick a fight over that? Or are you getting enough from what needs to be done that the micro isn't what's important, it's the macro? And you're making sure that people are doing as best as they can, and you are there to make sure that you are supporting the athletes in whatever way possible so that they can make sure that they're doing what's best because you did your best to educate them prior so they understand the who's, what's, when's, why's, and how's of what's going on. And that's different from me now. So, thanks, Train. And I hope that helps you guys a little bit too. Take a step back and look, you know. Is there a lower hanging fruit to what we're arguing over? Is there something simpler that may help just as much that we need to make sure we're doing? Because I think more often than not there is. So, would love to hear your thoughts, input, feedback, any ways you've done this with other situations as well. Again, just trying to start conversations, trying to help coaches communicate and be better with these things. So, as always, guys, truly appreciate everything you do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We'll be back next week with another My Thoughts Monday. I will see you then.